America has the most gun violence of any other developed country in the entire world. Therefore, there should be more restrictions on what types of guns are allowed to be used and how they're allowed to be purchased. This has become a huge controversy in the past several years because of all the gun violence that has come up in the country throughout the past few decades, let alone in the past year. So today I'm going to tell you a few reasons why we should have stricter gun control. My main reason, number one, is because the U.S. already has the most guns in the entire world, with approximately 270 million here in the country today. And with a population of about 320 million, that's about a gun for every citizen of the United States. So, the more guns there are available directly influences the amount of tragedies that can occur. Therefore, more guns equals more gun violence. I have proof for that. A study by Arthur Kellerman shows that residents in a home with a firearm inside of it have a 40% higher risk of a homicide occurring than a gun not being there. The same goes for suicides. Suicides are usually spur-of-the-moment decisions, so if a gun is readily available, that suicide is more likely to occur. The same study shows that a suicide is 90% more likely to occur if a gun is present. In 2010, the U.S. had 105,000 citizens that were injured or killed by firearms, let alone. This came from the Lancet. Some people that are opposed to gun control, they're going to say that the only way to stop an individual with a gun from harming another individual is by having another person try to take them out with another weapon. This, however, is false. A gun is not always the answer to everything. A study shows that a gun is 22 times more likely to be used in criminal assault, accidental death or injury, or an attempt of suicide or homicide than it is for self-defense. Having more weapons in society, it's not going to lower the amount of gun violence, it's only going to increase it. This is a study by Michael Shermer in about 2010, so it's a fairly accurate study showing what guns are used for in today. Idea number two is that gun control, it's already given amazing results in other countries like Canada and Australia. So for example, Canada, they changed their gun regulations in the late 1970s. And from the year 1989 to 1999, the rate of firearm death dropped from 5.0 people per 100,000 to just 3.3 per 100,000. So after they restricted a lot of their guns, a lot of their firearms-related death or injuries went down. Australia, they've also seen surprisingly similar results. After they got rid of their guns, I believe in about 1997, their gun violence also went down in the country. So some people are going to say, you know, those countries, they're different than us. They're not the U.S. The U.S. has always had guns. It's part of our culture. So we as Americans have the right to bear arms. These people say that because they're quoting from the Second Amendment, or so they think they're quoting from the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment actually reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The key word is militia. This Second Amendment was created at a time where the people were very scared of a strong and tyrannical government, so they wanted to make sure that the people were able to stand up for themselves and not be taken over. It didn't say that anyone and everyone could have whatever weapon they wanted without the proper use of training or regulations. Much of the public also already supports more gun control. In a recent survey conducted by Stephen Johnson, 52% of respondents said that there should be restrictions on the types and number of guns that individuals are permitted to use. And in another study by BBC News, this was trying to figure out America's gun culture. 39% of respondents who weren't happy with the gun regulation wanted actually stricter gun regulation. They wanted more laws and more ways to prohibit the use of guns all across America. So another thing that people are going to say against this is that gun owners, they're not going to compromise. They're going to stand up for what they believe in, and they're not going to change their minds about guns, and they're not going to get rid of them. But a lot of people don't know that many people, when they look into the facts and the statistics, they're already getting rid of their weapons. Many of them have laid down their weapons because they realize that they can cause more harm than they can do good. So I really hope that you've learned something about gun violence in today's society and that we need to do something to change it. Thank you.